Hello, everybody. It's Sunday evening, July 5th, and we're embarking on the third week of the summer term 2020 in Political Science 1013. We got through exam one. I thought the class did okay as a whole. Some students did better than others. We're beginning now on the material for the midterm exam, exam 2, on Monday, July 20th. We have units 3 and 4. Unit 3 on the media, and Unit 4 on the Constitution. Now, I'll have a bit more to say about the Constitution next week. Let me mention that for Unit 4, you have the lengthiest reading assignment you're going to have for the term. There's 3 chapters of the textbook, plus some material from the textbook's appendix. There's chapters 2, 3, and 4. Look the most closely at Chapter 2. Chapter 2 deals with the Constitution as a whole. Then 3 and 4 deal with issues such as civil rights and civil liberties and federalism, all of which are covered in the class notes for Unit 4. But of that reading material, I believe Unit 2 is the most important, if you have to be selective in how much time you spend on all this material. Look at Chapter 2 the most closely. Chapters 3 and 4 maybe not so much. You also have quite a bit of material assigned in the appendix of the textbook, about 40 pages. That stuff includes the Declaration of Independence, the Articles of Confederation, and the Constitution itself, including all the amendments, all of which is very interesting to read through if you've never read it before. After all that, you have the Federalist Papers, especially 2 of the Federalist Papers that are perhaps considered the most important and which are often assigned in a course like this. Federalist Paper number 10 and Federalist Paper number 51 by James Madison. Now these are also discussed in the class notes for Unit 4. Take some time to read them through. The language is kind of archaic. That is, people don't really talk that way anymore. So it may take you a little time to get through it. I've tried to hit the highlights in the class notes. And now Unit 3 comes first. The textbook assignment is Chapter 6. So you want to look closely at Chapter 6 and Chapter 2, Chapters 3 and 4 to whatever extent you can, plus that material in the appendix of the textbook. Chapter 6 covers the mass media. Now, we sent out the reading assignment for exam 2, 2 articles related to Unit 3 and 2 related to Unit 4. I'll have a bit more to say about all that next week. Note that you have 1 article about social media in the 2020 presidential election campaign, Twitter, Facebook, and Google. One thing that's mentioned in the class notes for Unit 3 is that broadcast and print media gradually are being superseded to some extent by online media, especially social media. But there's some potential for distortion and abuse here that has raised some concerns. So look at that. You'll also see an article about a recent interview on a cable TV news channel with Joe Biden. You might have heard that a woman came forward and accused Joe Biden of having sexually abused her years and years ago when he was a senator, I believe. And he was interviewed about that on MSNBC. You have an article to read about that. You have 2 more articles related to the Constitution rather than the media that I'll have more to say about next week. Now, a couple of issues with regard to the media. Our course is about the national government. But there's some reason to be concerned about the role of newspapers in your local community as well as on a nationwide basis. I don't say too much about local newspapers in our class notes because this is a course on the national government. Now, you'll come to a slide and some class notes that shows you the New York Times, the Washington Post, and the Wall Street Journal. they are all doing well because they found that they could charge for their content, and a lot of people wanted it, so they make a lot of money charging people to subscribe to their online content. Your local paper may have a much harder time with that. One thing that all the newspapers have faced is that the print advertising that they used to get and the revenue from that largely has gone to online media, so that the newspapers have a serious problem with their business model. That's probably more true of your local paper than it is the New York Times, the Washington Post, and the Wall Street Journal, those big national papers. Now, another issue on which I spent quite a bit of time in Unit 3 is that of media bias. You'll notice I put up a slide with the cover of a Life magazine issue from 1969, I believe it was, with Vice President Spiro Agnew going out on attack against the media. Actually, President Nixon wanted him to do that. So this has been an issue ever since I was a kid, ever since I was your age or younger, going all the way back to the 1960s. And we try to address that in the class notes. One major development in this respect has been the appearance of Fox News on cable TV over the past 20 to 25 years. So I hope you will take a look at that. In any case, that's what we have for this week. Unit 3 this week, Unit 4 next week, leading up to our midterm exam, Monday, July 20th. So I hope you'll begin taking a look at this material. Always available for any questions at david.cole@opsu.edu. So good luck with that material.